Hey there, welcome back. We are going to do some home lessons for just some key things that keep coming up. A lot of students have asked for this kind of video library, so I'm happy to be putting this together. So here we are in Let's Hang Out. Do you mind if I paint? Step-by-step directions, or lessons, if you will. So first off, the application of liquid white in this method of painting is super important. And I got some great feedback on another video I did about putting on liquid white. It was at an event, it was kind of loud, the sound quality wasn't quite as good as I'd like, so that video is probably still up and floating around. I hope it helped somebody. And so I thought we would do this in a little more controlled environment. I'm just set up here in my home studio. This is a 16 by 20. That's what I normally paint on for fun. I do like doing the 18 by 24s in demos and just when I want to act like Bob or channel him, because that's what he always painted on the show, of course. And so now I'm just going to put on some liquid white for you. Should just take a couple of minutes, but it is worth spending the time to do it correctly. I'm going to use a 2-inch brush just because it covers so well, and I'm going to go straight into a jar of Bob's liquid white. So there you go. I'll show you how much paint I'm going to start with because I'm just dunking straight down into this jar. And as with most painting situations, it is easier to apply more paint than to take some off. So let me hold this up to the camera. You can see I've only gone in somewhere between about 1/8 of an inch and 1/4 of an inch, mostly straight into that jar. And now I love the method that Nick Hankins taught us over at the New Smyrna Beach workshop during certification, and he'd probably do this in any hobby class because it's just such good advice, is just put some of these dots around the canvas. You can definitely see how Bob's canvases are tinted gray. They are not white to start with. He did that on purpose. And now just tie these little blobs together with crisscross or figure eights. Maybe you think of it as the infinity symbol. And just work your way back and forth across the canvas. I don't know if you could just see that little part I just flipped towards my own head, but do be careful as you get towards the edges. I actually like to pull in from the outside, just so I'm not flinging paint off over all the canvases hanging around me in my studio. So I like to pull in from the outside. Work this all the way around, go up to the edges. I do the same from the top and the other side and the bottom. You can see how quickly this is going. But if you remember watching Bob on PBS back in the 80s and 90s, you seldom saw him do this step. Well, it's tremendously important. But Bob was a brilliant guy. He knew that watching someone paint a gray canvas white does not necessarily make for the most riveting television. While it's fundamentally important to getting this kind of process and style of painting to work well for you, Bob was also just a brilliant guy, I think. How cool is it, the impact he's having on the world, even almost 30 years after he's been dead? Man, wouldn't the world be a better place if we were all that way? We were still having positive pebbles from what we chose to do in life, hitting other people's ponds long after we're gone. That's what happens to us. I think we've done something right. All right, so you've seen me do crisscross strokes. Now I'm just going to do some long horizontal and vertical strokes all over this. I'll show you the secret test to check this real quick. So if you feel like you've got it pretty smoothed out, I think I see a few patchy areas, but we'll test those. Just take a clean, dry hand. Nothing magic, nothing up my sleeve. Just going to push my middle finger right in the middle. I like to use my inside fingers on the top corners, my outside fingers on the bottom. I don't know why I started doing it that way, but it just sort of makes sense to me to test it that way. So now I've tested it in all 5 areas. Let me take a second and see if the camera will focus on this, because if you can still see the lines in my fingerprints, there we go, there's a good image of it. That means I've got exactly the right amount. I may just be on the heavy side. That's not a fat joke. That means too much paint. Maybe just on the heavy side. So I'm going to show you something you can do just to make sure you don't have too much liquid white. I'll put that brush aside. I'm going to pick up a clean, dry paper towel, fold it up just so it's easy to use, And I'm going to gently go horizontal across the entire canvas. It's going to pick up some. You can't see that on a paper towel very well. I'm going to gently go vertically. And I'm going to go right back over it with my brush just to smooth out any streaks I may have put in it from the paper towel. That's our attack dogs. Probably seeing a lizard out the back sliding glass door, or God forbid someone's choosing to mow their yard. That causes them hysterics. So if you can hear that, I'm sorry about that, but there you go. Let me see if I can get that to focus again on those fingers. See how you can still see my fingerprints? If you've recently spent time at a law enforcement agency getting your fingerprints done, they use a different color ink, but the idea is the same. So I hope that's helpful. This canvas is all set and ready to go. I'm going to be moving on with additional steps in some short videos. So stay tuned or check out the library, and feel free to drop in some comments if there's some other videos you'd like to see. I'll try to keep them a little bit shorter. We're a little over 6 minutes on my gross clock here. After some edits, it may be a little shorter, but really want to get these cut down in short libraries so they're super useful, and you can make this awesome way of painting work for you too. See ya!